Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Eddie Marcus once again. I had a thought, and I decided to share with you and see how you conclude this thought. When I was a kid, right? I grew up as a young kid living in the South, raised by my great-great-grandparents, and they were close to slavery. I mean, I was at least connected somehow. If they weren't, their parents were, no doubt. And some of the traditional stuff, I guess, that was handed down from back in those days that usually is transmitted through a system like that, without a doubt, got a chance to incorporate some of that into who I am. I never thought about that during those times. And I'm thinking about going to church all the time. You know, we always went to church. And being black in the South, we had no swimming pools, no recreation centers or anything like that. So some of us young guys from the neighborhood, when we wanted to swim, we would go to the lake. You've probably heard of something like this before, or maybe you've experienced it yourselves. And we'd go to the lake, find us a nice kind of clear area, and we might do some working around and kind of clean some debris and create ourselves a nice place to swim, call it a swimming hole. And there's a section close to that the clearing that we've made for swimming, that has been made for swimming. We call it a Muddle. And it is for guys who are trying to learn how to swim, right? So the water is not over their heads. The water is at least like waist deep, and they can go around that area dog paddling, you know, paddling like a dog till they learn how to stay on top of the water like this. And eventually they'll start going out on inner tubes with other guys, and certain areas they'll give them a chance to start trying to develop a swim. Well, I was kind of young and didn't get a chance to go to the lake that much. And when I went, definitely I'm in the mud hole right there. But I always wanted to be like the big boys. You know, a lot of times we aspire like that. I always wanted to be like the big boys. I see the big boys swimming out in the middle of the lake, and I'm sitting there in the mud hole. I see the guys, some of them swimming across the lake. The distance across the lake, probably 100 yards, maybe the length of a football field. And so I'm wanting to do this. And I had in my mind that I could do it. I say, I can do this. I can swim across this lake. I can do it. I know I can do it. And not even recognizing the fact, or acknowledging that I haven't been doing any stroking. All I've been doing was a dog paddle. And so I'm telling myself I can do it. And I wanted to do it at a time when none of the big boys were there. You know, because if I tried it and they were there, they could laugh at me. So what I would do is find a time when none of them were there. And then I'd do a practice run. I'd swim across the lake. Then I'd go back down, come back around. And when they come out there, I'm confident I can do it because I've done it. And so I can swim with them and I'll surprise them. This is what I told myself. And so, ladies and gentlemen, this particular day, just a couple of us guys who could do no more than myself, I looked across that lake and I said, this is my time. And so I broke loose from that little section, that little mud hole section where we've been swimming, dog paddling, and started going, headed toward the lake. They crossed the other side of the lake. And I guess I got so far, I got maybe a third, maybe 25 yards, a quarter, or maybe 35 yards out from the bank. And I was doing pretty good. But then I looked down, you know, when you turn your head, and you turn your head. And when I turned my head one way, I saw a tree trunk coming up out of the water. And on that tree trunk was a moccasin. Now here I am in the lake with a snake. And I'm thinking, this guy has the power now. And so the other guys were still in the hold. I looked around and I remember all of this is happening in the twinkling of an eye. I saw the snake and I screamed. And I hailed back to the guys, get out, get out, get out, a snake. And they appeared to me to keep on doing what they were doing. And I'm trying to look over there, and the snake, I see the snake fall off this log, flip back over in the water. And you know what's on my mind. So I start splashing, right? Because I'm trying to get out of there. And I noticed that these guys were still not getting out of the water. And I'm noticing that I'm splashing. You know, I'm splashing. And I look over there, and I still don't see that snake. Next thing I know, I was looking up at the bank. These guys were jumping out of the water. And I'm right there at the bank. And I raise my hand, they snatch me out. The snake comes right up behind me, under me, then go right over to the side in a very shallow area and curl up and watch us. And we grab our clothes, we're naked as we were, ran up the hill, and I've never been back to that hole since. Now, the thing that got me there is this. I told myself that I was a fool, that I dared, wasn't worried about nothing. I put my life on the line to even think about losing my life, and jumped out there in that water with no swimmers out there. So if I needed anybody, there would be nobody there to help me. And that snake at that time over on that log was used by the spirit of compassion and the spirit of love for me, and knowing how I would respond, used it and got me back out of that water without trying to go over that lake. And another thought is that if I had the confidence, if I had the belief that I could achieve this, though I've never tried it before, is an indication that I could. And any of us can, if we're daring enough to try. If we see it as though it's done, if we see no shortcomings, no failure in it, then it is done. All we have to do is duplicate it. And so that's just another thought. So we go here and there. You know, I say to myself, is it possible? I say that there was a time it never crossed my mind, but of late, I ask myself, is it possible that my faith in my ability to achieve this was strong enough and overwhelming enough to enable me to do things that I knew I could do, though I hadn't done? Was my faith in that strong? And was it really me doing what I believed I could do, what I knew I could do? It's just that the snake got in the way, and I had an exercise of outswimming the snake. That's a thought. And I said that to you, ladies and gentlemen, because there's another scenario I'd like to share with you to add to this as a contrast to help you in your discernment. Here I am, still a young boy in the South, working on the plantation type situation, chopping cotton. For those of you who are familiar with that, the whole chopping cotton, weeding the grass between the cotton so the cotton can grow. And so this particular day, the cotton is kind of tall, up at least above just about at waist high. And you just walk straddle row because you can stick your toes in the dirt that's been covered by the cotton leaves, and it's cool. And so I'm cutting, and I'm chopping, and all of a sudden, I get paralyzed. I can't move. Hair standing up on the back of my neck. I deduce that I'm afraid of something. What? I don't know. But I can't move. And then I start to calm down, and I say, wow, what was that? And I take my hoe to continue what I was doing, and this time when I raised the hoe up to chop down in the grass, the hoe fell out of my hand. I turned around and started running and screaming. People started asking, Eddie, what's wrong, what's wrong? And the only thing I could respond was, I don't know. And I just ran until I started calming down. And having calmed down, I said, what was that again? I asked myself. So I began to go back to retrace my steps and see, because I knew again, here I am afraid. And I go and I pick up the hoe that I was working with, and I start leaning the cotton bag, and right where I was standing, ladies and gentlemen, the next step, I leaned that cotton bag, and there was a cottonmouth moccasin laying right up in that cotton. Had I taken another step, I'd have been attacked between the legs. And I don't know what would have happened after that. Just the thought of that was too much. And so what I saw was something that I couldn't see, something that I could have no attachments whatsoever as far as I know. Was able to see the situation, was able to take control of the situation, able to move me to a place of safety. I didn't decide to run. I had to run. And I ran. And I come back and I see this and I say, well, there's no human being on the face of the earth that could have helped me, or that did help me at that moment. I couldn't even help myself at that moment. But in that moment of need, help was there. Overwhelming power, help was there. And for one reason or another, training, indoctrination, or just having some sense, I recognize that there's a power outside of me that was able to do that. It's greater than all of us. And I have to, for some reason, associate that with, I really honestly associate it with God. Those mechanisms that God has usage of. And even when I think about, people might say, well, that's just an instinct, a human instinct that comes with the human animal that we are. Then I still have to give credit to that power that was able to do all of that and instill that in a situation like that I experienced. I know what it means to appreciate that. And so I honor that outside of myself, enabling me to care for all that that power has created. To the extent I can see how it all operates together and want that and speak for that, advocate for that. So what conclusion would you get out of that? Work with it for a moment there. Thank you very much.